All right, y'all. We give praise, esteem, and honor to the living Elohim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. It's up in John chapter 5, verse 39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and there they was testified me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, you receive me not. If another shall come in his name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one from another, and not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I accuse you. The Abba, there's one that accuse you, even Moses, in whom you trust. Had to believe Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my words? Well, hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. And give praise, esteem, and honor to Abba and Shamahim in the name of Yahushua. We're going to pivot just for a moment, just because on in here the other day, they were talking about animal sacrifice, and trying to prove that there'd be animal sacrifices in the kingdom, and therefore that you will keep the law of Moses in the kingdom. And that's neither here nor there. That's not any of my concern. But he kept pressing two particular verses. And I knew that if we, Shalom, man, I knew that if we would have sat there and had a conversation with him, he would have been stuck and it would have descended into something else. It wouldn't have been descended into something else negatively for me, because I just would have vacated the premises. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't respect the dude's spiritual acumen to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Because I've known this gentleman for a while. Well, I know of him. We've had interactions. I don't hold him in as high regard as others do. You know what I'm saying? That's their personal business. But before we get into all of that, Shalom, Brother Ellis, let's go ahead and read. I do it like that. Oh, boy. So I'm going to read Exodus 22 and 20, because we're not deviating from dealing with the peace offering, the shalem, the friendship offering, the alliance of friendship. We're not deviating from that. But we have to add something on to this, and I'm going to mention what it is in a moment. Just let me read Exodus 22 and 20. He that sacrificed unto any Elohim, save unto Yahuwah only, he shall be utterly destroyed. Shalom, man. Yes, sir. No problem, brother. Because it still all relates. Now, the thing that they were dealing with is they were trying to prove that the law of Moses can tell you, because they were pressing that the Christians are wrong, saying that I'm here to tell you that the Christian is not incorrect. The law of Moses will not be kept in the kingdom of Elohim. Nevertheless, the difference between us and them is that they won't speak that with understanding. See, you'll understand why. We've already had this conversation. Any man has rules in his house, but you'll understand why that's the case. So now let's begin then. Matthew chapter 5. Everybody knows that this is every Hebrew's favorite passage to prove, to show to a Christian that they got to keep the law. This is something that we don't even discuss, ain't discussed in a long time, because as a man, I don't see the need to prove to somebody that they should follow rules. You know what I'm saying? This is the thing. The only reason why you would press upon someone to follow rules is because that they are a sinner. Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I come not to destroy, but to fulfill. For truly I say unto you, till Shamahim and Arats pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law to all be fulfilled. Whosoever shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the Malkuth of Shamahim. But whosoever shall do and teach, the same shall be called great in the Malkuth of Shamahim. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall in no case enter into the Malkuth of Shamahim. Now this is the question, first and foremost. Why do you think that he states that your righteousness needs to exceed the scribes and the Pharisees? Why do you think he makes this statement? What do you believe this statement to mean? Go ahead, good sir.
Well, because they tried to seek the righteousness that came from the law, like Paul said, but it wasn't the righteousness of the law, but the righteousness of faith.
You can say that, and that's the standard way to go about it. The reason why I'm asking this question only because I've referenced this lately. I need a what it is, man. Where is that? Hold on. Because I don't even want to say it out loud. I want you to see the context of what it is. Because that answer ain't wrong, my G. It's just my mind is operating somewhere else for another point, but it's definitely not wrong. Hold on, y'all. Give me a sec. Come over here to Luke chapter 12. Luke 12 and verse 1. Luke chapter 12 and verse 1. See, that ain't the one. See, that ain't it. Yeah, come on, make it Mark chapter 8. I don't want Luke 12. Luke 12 ain't the one. That ain't the one. Come over here, Mark chapter 8, man. Pick it up at verse 10, if you would. That suits me better. Mark 8 and 10. Straightway he entered into a ship. And it can be. I had to think about what it said. You said 23. Is that it? Yeah, I think that is it. Yeah, I believe so. I had to think about what that said for a moment. Yeah, absolutely. And straightway he entered into a ship with his disciples and came into the parts of Delamunta. And the Pharisees came forth and began to question him, seeking of him a sign from Shamahin, tempting him. He sighed deeply in his ruach and said, why do this generation seek after a sign? Truly I say unto you, there shall be no sign given unto this generation. He left them and entering into the ship again departed to the other side. Now had forgotten to take bread, neither had they in the ship with them more than one loaf. And he charged them, saying, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, it is because we have no bread. And when Yahushua knew it, he said to them, why reason you because you have no bread? Perceive you not yet, neither understand, have you not yet, have your heart yet hardened? Having eyes, see you not, having ears, hear you not, and do you not remember? When I break the 5 loaves among the 5,000, how many baskets full of fragments took you up? They said unto him, 12. And when the 7 among 4,000, how many baskets full of fragments took you up? And they said 7. He said unto them, how is it that you do not understand? Now, hey, get them lights up. So, of course, in another place, now Stanley mentioned Matthew 23 when he said they sit in Moses' seat, everything they tell you to observe, do, but don't do after their works, for they say and do not. Now, in another place, he told them to beware of the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. Do y'all recall what hypocrisy means in Hebrew? The word hypocrisy in Hebrew, who recalls what it means? Don't nobody remember what it means. Y'all still, there it is. Y'all still need to tighten up with that like button. Go ahead, man. You got to unmute your microphone, sir. He ain't figured it out yet. Oh, there it is. Yeah, you got to unmute your microphone. That's right. Faithless, unfaithful people. So that's why your righteousness has to exceed the scribes and the Pharisees, because the scribes and Pharisees were unfaithful to Elohim. You know what I'm talking about? That's why you have to exceed. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that a lot of brood don't really want to look at and deal with. These men weren't faithful to Elohim. So you're going to have to be better than them in that regard, which when you think about it, in reality, it's not even difficult to do. But we're going to zero in on verse 18 in Matthew 5 at this particular time. It say, truly I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass one jot and one tittle, shall no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. Now, of course, you know, everybody likes to run to that, and they say the things that they like to say. See, I want you to come over here to Luke chapter 16. I want you to swing around here to Luke chapter 16. I'll pick it up at verse 9 on general principle. And I say unto you, make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when you fail, that they may receive you into everlasting habitations. He is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. He that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. If you therefore have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the truth? And if you've not been faithful to that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters, for he will hate the one and love the other, else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Elohim and mammon. The Pharisees also, who were covetous, heard all these things, and they derided him. Deriding meaning they ridiculed him. And he said unto them, you are they which justify yourselves before men, but Elohim know your hearts, for that which is highly esteemed among men is an abomination in the sight of Elohim. The law and the prophets until John. Since that time, the Malkuth of Elohim is preached, and every man press into it. And it is easier for Shamahim and Arats to pass than one tittle of the law to fail. Now, before we go any further, I just want to talk to you about one jot and one tittle. Let me talk to you about one jot and one tittle and what you have with that. When you deal with jot, it's actually the 10th letter in our alphabet. You know what I'm talking about? Does any of you know what the 10th letter in our alphabet is? Now, of course, when you get it in the English and the Greek, it really just deals with, the smallest. You know, a tittle is a small, very, very small. But does anyone know what the 10th letter in the Hebrew alphabet is? Do you know, Big Boo? I understand, because, you'd have to picture all that. Sean has placed it in the chat. It is Yod. So now I want you to come to Psalms 119, and we want to look at the things that's in Psalms 119 that has to deal with the letter Yod. And I'm just telling you this here, when you're dealing with Jot, you want to think about Yod. I think it's verse 73 we need to be in Psalms 119. It is. So we'll read these 7 verses in Psalms 119 and verses beginning at verses 73 as it pertains to Yod in that one jot. Bear with me on that. If I can get around there. He said, your hands have made me and fashioned me. Give me understanding that I might learn your commandments. The first thing that we want to look at is the made and the fashion. First things first. Made, asa, which fashion is kun. B'nai for understanding. Learn is lamad. But this is the thing that we want to look at. Someone has been worked and made and established. And this is why he has learned the word. I want you to come to John chapter 10. John chapter 10, verse 30. John chapter 10, verse 30. And it says, I and Abba are one. Then the Yahudim took up stones again to stone him. Yahushua answered them, many good works have I showed you from my Abba. For which of these works do you stone me? Yahushua answering, it said, Yahudim answered him, saying, for good works we stone you not, but for blasphemy, because you, being a man, make yourself Elohim. Yahushua answered them, is it not written in your law, I said, you are gods? If he called them gods unto whom the word of Elohim came, and the scripture cannot be broken. Say you of him whom Abba have sanctified and sent into the world, you blaspheme, because I said I am the son of Elohim. Now, why is this important? Because he said the word of Elohim came, the script can't be broken. We're dealing with that. Again, one jot or one tittle of this man law is not going to pass away until heaven and earth pass away. Why is that important? In due time you shall see. But let's continue. Let's think upon this one here. He fashioned him and he learned these commandments. Well, when did he fashion him? Let's take a look at Jeremiah chapter 1, just for a little basis of thought. Jeremiah 1 and 1, if you would. You could get down to 1 and 4. We ain't got time. Then the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying, before I formed you in the belly, I knew you, and before you came forth out of the womb, I sanctified you, ordained you a prophet unto the nations. Now, why is that important? Because he said him and his father were one. He said, before I formed you in the belly. Again, what are we looking at in Psalms 119? He said, what? Your hands have made me and fashioned me and given me understanding that I might learn your commandments. You're seeing him state this with Jeremiah. Well, let's go take a look over here in Luke. Let's go over here to Luke chapter 1. And let's see if we see the same thing. Just give it, be patient, and just hold on. Just hold on. Because we're going to take a lot of things, Luke 1 and 26, and piece them things together. Luke 1 and 26, in the 6th month, and in the 6th month, the Malachim Gabriel went from God unto the city of Galilee named Nazareth to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph of the house of David, and the virgin's name Mary. The Malachim came in unto her and said, hail, highly favored, Yahuwah is with you, Baruch you among women. And when she saw, she was troubled at it, saying, and cast into her mind what manner of salutation this should be. The Malachim said unto her, fear not, Mary, for you have found favor with Elohim. And behold, you shall conceive in your womb and shall bring forth a son, and you shall call his name Yahushua, and he shall be great, and he shall be called the Son of the Highest. Yahuwah Elohim shall give unto him the throne of his father David, and he shall reign over the house of Jacob ever and ever, and his kingdom shall have no end. Now, why is that important? We know from Matthew chapter 1, you can come back to Psalms 119, that Yahushua was inseminated into the womb of Mary by the word. So therefore, he is formed by the word, and he was formed by the word just like Jeremiah, because he said before he knew him, formed him in the belly, he knew him, which is why he could tell them what his name was going to be and what he was going to do, and that he was definitely appointed to be a prophet unto the nations. This is what he was formed and appointed to do, to make this manifestation of righteousness. Now let's continue in verse 74 of Psalms 119. So look at this here. When you're looking at this here of what is not going to pass away till heaven and earth passes away, that means there has to be a man who is going to be formed and who is going to be given understanding and that he might execute the instruction. That would take us to John 12 and 44, that my Father has given me an instruction, and I know his instruction is life everlasting, and that instruction was for him to lay down his life. That was what he was instructed to do. You know what I'm talking about? Remember, he said, I lay my life down of myself. No man take it from me. He said, I lay it down and I pick it up. My Father has given me this commandment. Let me get that for those who don't know what I'm talking about, so you can see how all this is going to relate. And that is John 10 and about 17. that I just referenced for those who may not be aware. John 10 and 17, therefore do my Abba love me because I lay down my life that I might take it again. No man take it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down. I have power to take it again. This commandment I received of my Abba. So the instruction that he received was to lay his life down. That's why he had an understanding to follow that instruction. You know what I'm talking about? And just because Yah's hands, the Father's hands, have made and fashioned him for that purpose of having that understanding to keep that instruction. Does that make sense? Do you understand that? Is that clear for you? That clear for you over there, boo? Let's come over here to Psalm 119, verse 74. They that fear you will be glad when they see me, because I hoped in your word. Well, let's come back and let's look at that again. And let's come over here to John chapter 20. Shalom, Brother Randall. John chapter 20. I just want you to know, we finna walk this down in a multitude of different areas. We're going to walk it down. Going to make it plain, going to make it clear, so you can see without a shadow of doubt what is being manifested. (20 and 24) is fine. But Thomas, one of them called Didymus, was not with them when Yahushua came. The other disciples therefore said unto him, we have seen the Lord. But he said unto them, except I shall see in his hands the print of his nails, and put the finger into the print of his nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. And after 8 days again, his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Came Yahushua, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst, and said, Shalom be unto you. Then he said to Thomas, reach hither your finger, behold your hand, my hands, reach hither your hand, thrust it into my side, be not faithless, but believing. Thomas answered and said unto him, my Lord and my Elohim. Yahushua said unto him, Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed, but Baruch are they that have not seen and yet have believed. Now, I added that in just on general principles. Why did I add that in? Because we also want to talk about what he did over here in verse 19. Also, we know what happened in Luke 24. Now, those men say, didn't our hearts burn within us? Why he opened up the scriptures to us in the way? Because he asked them, what manner of communications are these that you are sad? Because they know that this is the person who they had reference for and who they had hope in. Keep this in mind, what verse 74 said. They that fear you will be glad when they see me, because they hoped in your word. Because remember what it said in Luke 24. And we believe that it was he that will redeem Yahshua. Ain't that what he said? And he's saying this is the third day since all these things have happened. Because these were the men who reverenced him. Everybody else didn't reverence him, but those men did. Let's look at verse 19. The same day at evening, being the first of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples assembled for the fear of Yahudim, and it came Yahushua, stood in the midst of them, and said unto them, Shalom unto you. And when he had so said, he showed them hands and his side, and then were the disciples glad when they saw the Lord. Then said Yahushua to them again, Shalom unto you. As Abba hath sent me, even so I send you. And when he had said this, he breathed on and said unto them, receive you the Ruach HaKadosh, which of course those of you who've been around here know, that's a reenactment of what he did to Adam. And of course, this is where you come in. I remember telling somebody I know when they were younger that they didn't really know the word like that, or thought they knew the word, but didn't really know it. This John chapter 20, verse 22, and the Genesis chapter 2, verse 7 shows the difference between the breath of life that is given. Everybody has the breath of life that is given in Genesis 2 and 7, and that is not a continual indwelling of everlasting life. Everybody don't get that breath of life that you see here in John 20 and 22. And when you see that indwelling of breath of life in John 20 and 22, that's everlasting life. That's a breath that never departs. Never, you can never exhale it, you can never push it out. But of course, you see these men were glad to see him because they feared him. They hoped in his word. You can also take John chapter 16 for that. But let's come back to Psalms 119 and verse 75. Let's look at, and again, how do we sit back and look at that? Number one, you take that, you know that he was fashioned to die. And then those were men who reverenced him, hoping that he would resurrect from the dead, because one jot or the yod or the right hand, the works of the right hand, if you would, that is not going to pass away until heaven and earth pass. You know what I'm talking about? That means that what that man had to do in that regard, it had to be accomplished. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But let's continue. Verse 75. I know, this is Psalms 119 and verse 75, if you would. I know, O Yahuwah, that your judgments right, and you and your faithfulness have afflicted me. Oh, my Elohim, why have you forsaken me? He said, it's expedient that I go away. He told his apostles numerous times that he had to suffer. Matter of fact, I mentioned John 16. I'm over here by it. We might as well go ahead and look into it. He's finna tell him. I thank the Lord. John chapter 16, verse 20. Truly, truly, I say unto you that you shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice, and you shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. A woman, when she is in travail, have sorrow because her hour is come. But as soon as she's delivered of the child, she remember no more of the anguish for the joy that a man is born into the world. And you now therefore have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice, and your joy no man take from you. Now, why is that important for us to read that? Because it's dealing with that we know that in his judgments are right, and in the faithfulness of Elohim did he afflict this man. Let's look at faithfulness, which of course you know is Amunah, and afflict is Anah, and that is to humble, to be afflicted, and to be oppressed. And you know that he was afflicted for our transgressions. Is that not what the book says? So then when we look at this here, again, as you're looking at that one jot, or we looking at that the law can't pass away until that's done, because that has to precede heaven and earth passing away. Nevertheless, let's continue. Verse 76 of Psalms 119. Let, I pray you, your merciful kindness be for my comfort, according to the word, your word unto your servant, which is, of course, you've seen when the Malachim came and comforted him or strengthened him. This is why he was able to say, Abba, into your hands I commend my Ruach. Let's look at verse 77. Let your tender mercies come unto me that I may live, for your law is my delight. Well, let's look at that in Romans chapter 8, if you would. Remember, we read the other day, he says, well, I am the resurrection and the life. Whosoever believes in me shall never taste death. Do you believe that? Now, of course, and just, I don't know if I mentioned this in full disclosure while we're looking at what we're going to get to, because this is definitely something that we dealt with. We discussed. We never got a chance to go into it full throttle. We went into it full throttle probably about 2 years ago. The brother was going in on the Christian dude saying, hey, there's going to be animal sacrifices in the kingdom. You know what I'm talking about? If you think you sacrificing bulls and goats in an eternal kingdom, I'm going to tell you that you're sadly mistaken. I know people say, well, you can read the sacrifices in Ezekiel. And if you don't have no understanding, you really think you're going to be standing in the eternal kingdom killing bulls and goats. That's on you. But I'll show you this evening why you ain't going to be sacrificing no bulls and goats. And you can take it for what you want to take it for. It don't make me no never mind. You know what I'm talking about? Because I just didn't. I've been past the point where I'm like, oh, I'm going to argue a point down to prove something to somebody. Now, we also will deal with in the course of the next couple of days that there is a difference between the millennial reign and in the kingdom of the Father himself. There is a difference. Let me ask y'all this here. In the chat, by putting in the number 1, do you understand that there is a difference? You know what I'm talking about? Matter of fact, let me ask this here. Who doesn't understand that there is a difference between the two? You know what I'm talking about? You could put it in the chat on Clubhouse also with a number 1. Who does not understand that there's a difference between the millennial reign and the eternal kingdom with the Father himself? Who does not understand that there is a difference? There's slight nuances, but there is a difference. Or do you believe that they're number 2, if you think they just one and the same? I'm trying to gauge this to see what your thought process is. This ain't no random question. I can't be able to know who understand what. See, one thing I do not do is I don't make assumptions what people seem to know or understand. That is something that I do not do. I can't know unless I ask. That's the only way that I'll be aware. So 1, if you think that if you believe that there is a difference, and 2, if you think they're one and the same. Darius got 1. Brother Ellis got a 1. Don't mind me, cause I just really enjoy this particular one. I like it a lot. Derek got number 1. Shayla don't know. Shayla, why your name misspelled? Your name Shayal? That's her name? Her name's Shayal. Shayal. What you looking crazy for? You think somebody talking to you? You want a piece of me? Because we can go. Oh, you want to go? Come on over here then. All right, TSA 1. That's what it means when somebody say, do you want to go? Okay. Did you know that? Yeah, so if somebody say they want to go, that means they want to tussle. Are you a tussler? No. I would hope not. Well, what would you do if someone struck you? How would that make you feel? Upset, and I would strike them back. Oh, you would strike them back. Or a tussler. No, but if somebody hit me, I would just hit them back. Well, what is that going to do? Is that an emotional response because you're upset because they hit you? Yes. Very well. Good day to you. So very well. Let's look at this Romans 8. I'm just asking for a baseline because we have to delve into that to show that there is a difference. There is a difference. They're not one and the same. You know what I'm talking about? And I will tell you this here, and I will reiterate this again. If you are foolish enough to think that we telling you that you ain't got to keep this man's instructions, that is a personal problem. But if you were trying to use Ezekiel and animal sacrifices to prove that you'll keep the law of Moses and the eternal kingdom of Yahuwah, you would be wrong. You know what I'm talking about? You would be definitely wrong. And the Christian would be 100% correct, but they would be wrong at the same time because they would be wrong because they would not speak it with understanding. That's the difference, is having understanding. And y'all willing, before we leave here, at least you'll have an understanding on why it won't be kept before we leave here this evening. That you will have, because I'm not dragging that out 2-3 days. It don't need to be dragged out 2-3 days. That can be done in 5 minutes. You know what I'm talking about? But for those of you who don't have an in-depth understanding, we have to add the layers on top. You know what I'm talking about? Romans chapter 8, though, we can pick it up at verse 6. Make it 5. Matter of fact, make it 3 on general principle. Romans 8 and 3. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, Elohim sending his own son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh. I know a lot of people want to know how the law weak through the flesh, because the law on 2 tables of stone can't do nothing for the flesh. You should know that. Remember, everything we be looking at, it all tied back into it. It all come full circle. It's all the same word. We've just been discussing the tables of the covenant, the 10 words. They were written on tables of stone. How you going to get power over your flesh on that which is written on tables of stone? You cannot. That is impossible. You know what I'm talking about? You needed something greater and stronger than that. That the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us who walk not after the flesh, but after the Ruach. I just want you to keep that in mind. I want y'all to know that walking after the flesh and walking after the spirit take you back to the garden, whether you know it or not. You know what I'm talking about? It take you back to the garden, whether you know it or not. It does. Pray you understand why it does. And if you don't, y'all will and you will before we leave here this evening. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that after the Ruach, the things of the Ruach. Well, let's look and see how Eve minded the things that were after the flesh so that you can see the difference. What does that point to Eve pointing to? It points to the house of Yasharal. It points to mankind in and of itself. That man has always minded the things of the flesh. After this Genesis chapter 3, get your Ecclesiastes chapter 7 on general principle. Genesis chapter 3, verse 5. For Elohim do know that in the day that you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when a woman saw that the tree was good for food, and it was pleasant to the eyes, the tree desired to make one wise. She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. She got caught up with the lust of the flesh. See, a lot of brothers, they'll come in and they'll be like, well, and some women too, well, why ain't Adam do this here and do that there? We done discussed that before. If you the type of nigga to run up off your mouth talking about why Adam ain't stopped this woman from doing something, you a jackass and you going to hell. Because the book already tell you, nay, old man, can you save your wife? And nay, old woman, can you save your husband? Only thing Adam was responsible for was the choice that he made to do. He can't stop somebody from doing something. And all y'all should be grown enough to know that you can't stop no grown person from doing nothing. You know what I'm talking about? He should have protected her from Satan. He can't. If Satan wasn't the problem, she was the problem. Satan wasn't the problem. We just discussed this. All he did was tempt her with what she already wanted to do. Satan was not the problem. How was Adam going to be able to protect this woman from her own fleshly lust that she didn't even know she had? When I say she didn't know she had it, she didn't understand what was going on of why this was a negative. She didn't understand. You know what I'm talking about? Now, of course, when you get Adam in that, of course, it's in the Job 31 and 33. We're not going deep off into that he tried to hide it. See, a lot of us don't even realize when he did this, it's the woman who you gave to me. Both dudes don't even understand that that's pointing to Yahushua and Yasharal, because the woman that the father gave to him is the reason why he died. It's the reason why he partook in sin. But see, we don't want to have that conversation because, see, we too busy having gender wars. You want to sit back and talk about, well, the man ain't this and the woman ain't that. Man, all you niggas sinners. That's what you ought to tell them. That's the same stuff you seeing with these people arguing about this skit. And this nigga, see, this the thing that nigga supposed to be talking about with this nigga with the McDonald's. Not by feeding them damn churn, but why in the hell, nigga, did you impregnate a woman who already had 3 kids from 3 different niggas? You put yourself in a situation and circumstance to be drugged like that. That's on you. You know what I'm talking about? That's what you supposed to have been paying attention to. Nigga, you talking about she told you she had 3 children from 3 different niggas, and you said, you know what? I'm going to be number 4. You's a stupid nigga. You know what I'm talking about? For putting your baby in this thing. You dumb. And then, of course, the second part of it is what type of nigga you is to say, well, I'm going to just throw the food on the ground. And then all it does is it just shows you the entitlement of some and the beta male scent mangina of others. You say, you could have bought a pizza. I could have did a lot of things. I ain't doing it, though. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I say I ain't doing it, though. I told y'all this before. Well, this younger generation of men, boy, they not trying to take care of children that ain't theirs like generation of men who came before them. They don't want to do it. And whether you care about why the reasons is they don't want to do it, it doesn't matter. They don't want to do it. You know what I'm talking about? And that bothers people because they talking about, what about the kid? But then, of course, if you know the word, well, you know Yahuwah don't care about children that ain't his either. Oh, y'all do know that, right? Oh, you are aware of that, right? What did that woman say to Yahusha when she came asking for healing for her child? What did he say? So they don't want to have that conversation because that prick you hard in your chest. Because it's not to say to let the children starve. I'm just giving you an example that Yahuwah don't even take care of children that ain't his, and he don't care if you hungry or not. He don't care if you naked or not. It was only because of the mercy of Elohim once Yahusha sacrificed himself that children that ain't mine can get fed and clothed. But before that man didn't care. Because if you was going to read, when I say not caring, meaning if this man was going to feed and clothe you, you was going to have to come under his authority, which means you was going to have to come under his rule, and you was going to have to follow his way. And see, that's the difference when you're dealing with human interaction. That's not going to happen with a woman and them not your churn. You know what I'm talking about? That's probably not going to happen. But when you're dealing with Yahuwah, that's a different thing, because that goes with the law saying, one man the law for you and for the stranger. Oh, I'm not feeding you, and then you not going to do what I say and be a benefit to what I got going on. See, that's the difference between Yahuwah. Yahuwah not going to benefit you, and then you not going to do something for him. He not going to do that. And we ain't talking about a business transaction either. You know what I'm talking about? We're talking about literal, you going to be a benefit to me without question. There's no doubt about that. But let me get you that Ecclesiastes 7, because I mentioned it. I'm trying to jam a lot of scripts in. I might go all the way to 9 to let you know, because there's a lot of verses to slam on through here. 7 and 29, that's all we need in Ecclesiastes 7. And I'll read you that Matthew 15, because it's the mercy of Elohim where he'll look out. But you know, before that man went in the grave, boy, That man wasn't trying to give no food to nobody that wasn't of his household. He wasn't trying to do it. Not even that he wasn't trying to do it, he couldn't do it. Do y'all know why he couldn't do that? Because he only had a covenant agreement with one group of people. So therefore, he could not do that. There's only one group of people who were considered to be his offspring that he could be able to feed and clothe. He couldn't go. What instruction did he give his apostles as for teaching the word? Where he told them not to go. Where did he tell them not to go? He said, in the way of the Gentiles and the Samaritans, enter you not. He told them don't even go to them. You know what I'm talking about? Because remember the word living bread, he said, don't feed them. Let my children eat right in their face. Now, this is another aspect of it, too, that a lot of people overlook. They talking about them children going to resent their brother if he eating food in their face. See, you super stupid nigga if you think that was going to be the reason. You know what's going to be the reason for them children to resent him is if his daddy do for him and theirs don't. You know what I'm talking about? That's what's going to cause them to have resentment. If his daddy come pick them up and do what, he ain't got to come back and tell them nothing about what he did with his daddy. It's just the fact his daddy came. You think them kids gonna be upset with him about a bag of McDonald's? Man, it ain't about no bag of McDonald's, man. You seen that in the book, in the law. Say Joseph's brother, guess what? It said Joseph's brothers hated him because they knew Jacob loved Joseph more than all of them. And all of them was his sons. You know what I'm talking about? And they all. But see, that's another thing that don't nobody like to discuss either. You like to lie about it, talking about you love all your kids the same. You lying. You know what I'm talking about? Some of you, especially if you got a lot of children, you're gonna look at the children and you're gonna see which one has the likelihood to continue your legacy if legacy is your thing, and that's the one you're gonna love the most. Now, of course, you know Joseph. He loved Joseph more because Joseph came from the woman who he loved. He loved Rachel. So, of course, he going to love the baby he got from the woman he loved. But see, we don't want to deal with that because we don't like to deal with human nature and reality. You want to make things up and live in a fairy tale. You know what I'm talking about? It's some people will tell you, oh, yeah, that's my favorite right there. Now, whether you say that in front of the children, that's your business. But don't think that the children don't know, or at least if they've concocted in their mind that they feel like one child is more special than the other. In your mind, we know that with the apostles, because he said he loved John more than all of them. Y'all do know that, right? That was who was laying on his bosom. Say he loved John more than he loved all of them. And some of the apostles were jealous of John. That's why they were arguing about who was going to be the greatest. You know what I'm talking about? And guess what the Lord did? He didn't come in and say, no. He say, hey, man, which one of you? He say, hey, man, which one of you the greatest? Let him be your servant. That's what he came and do. He came and gave them a perspective on how they ought to behave, not try to calm down their emotions and this, that, and the third. I don't care nothing about how you feel. I love who I love. You know what I'm talking about? I choose who I choose. I deal with who I deal with. And that ain't got nothing to do with you. And I don't care nothing about how you feel about it. Because a lot of people feel like, oh, I wouldn't do that. That's because you don't know the man. The man do what he want to do. You ain't got to like it, but it is what it is. Ecclesiastes 7:29. Lo, this only have I found that Elohim has made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions. What is inventions? Many purposes, plans, and plots. Now, we're not focusing on Eve to belittle women because we know Eve is emblematic of Yasharal as a whole. Yasharal like to move according to the flesh, and that's what got them separated from their Elohim. You know what I'm talking about? Because we're going to read it again in Romans 8. I don't think I read it all the way around the corner, but I will. Matthew 15, and then back to Romans 8. This is what you got to understand. Eve is a symbol of Yasharal. Yasharal was tempted and moved about their own desires, and that got them separated from their God. It's real easy to do when you carnal. When you're not carnal, that can't happen. Most people are carnal. Most people move by the flesh, operate by the flesh, think by the flesh, desire the flesh. And when you do that, you're going to die. That's exactly what happened to Eve. Matthew chapter 15, verse 21. Then Yahushua went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Zidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, Lord, son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. And he answered her not a word. That man was not moved. He was not moved. You know how many people would have been offended if you said that this was the Son of God and a woman was telling him that her child was vexed with a devil and he didn't speak? Remember, this goes to Isaiah 65. He say, I spread my hands all the day to rebellious, gainsaying people, but I'm sought by a nation that's not called by my name. See, this is the difference between Yahuwah and most men. Yahuwah only desired his wife, and all the riches and benefits that he had to give was only for his wife. He didn't care about who was raising their hands, running to him, wanting it, because it wasn't for you. It's for my wife. You're not called by my name. Why would I give you a benefit from me? See, that's something that a lot of women don't understand. Just because a man in a relationship with you, that's not your husband. Therefore, you're not entitled to benefit from him. That's not your husband. You benefit from your husband. You know what I'm talking about? See, when I say that, meaning that as a man, if you make the decision to take on a wife, then you know it's your responsibility that she get a benefit from dealing with you. See, I only say that because, you know, in these modern times, you have people say, you ought to pay that woman rent. Why the hell would I pay somebody rent and I don't live there? And that ain't my wife. Why would I do that? Why would I be paying bills to someone who can say, you know what, I don't want to be with you no more, and I ain't had no authority or rule over her whatsoever? That's dumb. You know what I'm saying? See, a lot of women will tell men, you know, hey, you shouldn't give this man wife privileges. Well, husband privileges is guidance, leadership, and access to resources. So this is the difference. If cooking and cleaning, I wouldn't tell you this. So let me take that back. You shouldn't be going to no man's house cleaning his house. That's that nigga house. Let him clean his own house. That don't make you a wife because you go to a nigga house and clean it. You's a fool in my estimation. You know what I'm talking about? Meaning, why you going on the road as a traveling cleaning crew and you ain't getting paid for it? That nigga house should be clean regardless. That should be a red flag for you. If he getting money, this nigga house filthy, what that say about him? You know what I'm talking about? That ain't your duty. If you want to cook for this man, that's not wife duties. You nigga, I would hope you cook for your damn self. You know what I'm saying? You ain't did nothing extra special. But I told you this before. Who you are is who you are. And if that's who you are and that's what you do, and a person take advantage of that, that's a loss for them, not to you. If you only doing something with the hopes of gaining, let me get this man, let me get this woman, then that's not who you really are, and you won't be able to sustain that over an extended period of time. You know what I'm talking about? See, as a man, you know you shouldn't be leading with your wallet anyway. Whatever you give somebody, they should earn it, because you had to earn those resources. So you shouldn't just be giving them away for a shot at some vagina, at a shot at somebody's company. That's foolish and simpish, in my opinion. And I've held that viewpoint before it was even a thing to call somebody a simp. I just was not taught to behave that way. Why are you? Do you brother realize how hard you got to work to make what you got to make? Just to give it to somebody for the hopes of some sexual intimacy? That's foolish. That don't even make any sense. You know what I mean? And as a woman, why is you giving sexual intimacy to somebody with the hopes that he'll take care of you? If you haven't shown your value as a woman, the way you would be adding on to the process of his progress and benefiting his life, then of course he's not going to take care of you. Physical intimacy is not enough to get a man to take care of you. Why have you devalued yourself in such a fashion to think if you give him your body, he'll take care of me? He'll take care of you if you're a benefit to his life. If you seek to add value to somebody's life, that's what's going to make the man keep you around, not your body. And I hate to tell it to you, cooking and cleaning ain't add no value to nobody's life. It's just not. Because you should be cleaning your house anyway. Unless you are filthy. I done told you before. I walk in a woman's house, I see her house dirty. I already got it in my mind. She don't clean her vagina. You know what I'm talking about? Ain't no way. That's right. You know what I'm saying? You give yourself to others and don't get nothing in return. You got to love yourself. You got to love Yahuwah and yourself first. But see, that'll keep a lot of ladies out of a lot of stuff. You shouldn't be giving physical intimacy to a man just for him to take care of you. You should be earning the place in his life to where he say, you know what, I'll take responsibility for you. But see, not a woman told, I ain't earning no place in no man's life. Well, you got to earn a place in the Lord's life. So what make you think you wouldn't need to do that with a natural man to show why you're valuable? That's why the book say a virtuous woman, who can find her, she's more precious than rubies. And when you look at what she's done, she's adding value to her husband's life. You know what I'm talking about? It's not just about what he can add to her. He's already adding to you. He's taking care of you. He's teaching you. He's leading you. And he guiding you. You cannot pay that back. There's nothing that you can do that can equal that. Ain't a meal you can cook that's equal to that. Because we already know that there's not a sacrifice you can offer to Yahuwah that's equal to what he can do for you. But see, the problem is that we looking at what we doing as if they're equal, because you're not understanding the benefit of one versus the other. And that's okay. It's the society we live in. But you know what I'm talking about? But on both sides of the coin, you know what I'm talking about? Man, don't devalue yourself in the hopes of getting somebody. You know what I'm talking about? I told you before, there's no such thing as husband and wife duties, because husband duties is leadership duties. Wife duties is whatever that man requires of his woman, and that differs from man to man. You know what I'm saying? Truth be told, that differs from man to man. Every man don't want and desire the same thing. That's one of the biggest, like when women ask, well, what do men want in a woman? It's a very difficult thing to answer, and you always going to get vague answers because it really depends on the man. That's why you hear these dudes on the internet with the same stupid conversations. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, just cooperate, this, that, that, and the third. Those are standard. Who would want an uncooperative woman in their midst? The book tell you don't deal with that. You know what I'm talking about? He tell you better dwell in the woods. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, be who you are. If doing certain things, if that's who you are, then that's just who you are. See, that's what the people's problem is. You so scared to get played. You can't get played if you're doing stuff and that's genuinely just who you are. That person is just losing. You're not getting played if that's who you are. You're only getting played when you actually playing a role that isn't you. If you like to cook and you tell this nigga come to the house and get something to eat, then if he do some stupid stuff, he's losing out on that because that's just who you are. Because I was going to cook this meal whether I was messing with you or not. So it don't make no difference. You know what I'm talking about? It don't make no difference. It don't make no difference. That's not a loss to you. But see, you don't view it that way because you feel like he got over. But how you think the Lord look at it? All the stuff he done did for you, and then look what you do. Is he a sucker, or did you get over, or did you play yourself? Oh, you played yourself. Matthew 15 and 23, one more time. But he answered her not when the disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she cry after us. He answered and said, I'm not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Yasharal. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. And he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. She said, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Yahushua answered and said to her, woman, great is your faith. Be it unto you even as you will. Her faith is what got her hooked up. But he straight up and told her, it's not meet to give the children's bread to anybody, not even to the dogs under the table. See, that's a hard pill to swallow because most people wouldn't expect, not my Jesus. That's your fault. You wouldn't expect that. You wouldn't think that. But that's just the reality of it. That's how he played it. You ain't none of my churn. I'm not feeding you. I don't care if you're hungry or not. So I only just use that there to show you how Yahuwah looked at things. Now, this is at that particular time. This is before his resurrection. Before his resurrection, boy, them people were scarred. That's why Paul wrote, you were strangers from the commonwealth and aliens from the promise. You ain't had no access. This point over here to Romans 8 and 6. See, that's another thing when you sit back and you understand, okay, you were Israelite by blood. That means you got access off top to something that other people don't have, and it come to you first. You get access to that first. You can't mess around and play with that. You know what I'm saying? You can't mess around and play with that. Romans 8 and 6, man. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against Elohim, it's not subject to the law of Elohim, neither indeed can be. A carnal mind has hatred for the law of Elohim. And of course, y'all already know that the tree of knowledge and good and evil in the garden was the law. That's why there was hatred in Eve's and Adam's mind towards it, because they were carnal, so they couldn't be subject to it anyway. You know what I'm talking about? But let's continue. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please Elohim, which is why you see Adam and Eve could not please him. But you are not in the flesh, but in the Ruach, if so be that the Ruach of Elohim dwell in you. Now, if any man have not the Ruach of Mashiach, he is none of his. If Mashiach in you, the body is dead because of sin, the Ruach, life because of righteousness. But if the Ruach of him that raised up Yahushua from the dead dwell in you, He that raised up Hamashiach from the dead shall quicken your mortal bodies by his ruach that dwell in you. Why are we dealing with that? Because that's what rose him from the dead. That's your Psalms 119 in verse 77. That those tender mercies came unto me that I might live, because your law is my delight. Let's come back to Psalms 119 verse 78, because I need to crank it up a notch. I got 33 minutes. He said, let the proud be ashamed, for they dealt perversely with me without a cause, but I will meditate in your precepts. And you know, in John 15, he said, but they hated me without a cause, right? He said, if I wouldn't have came and did the work that no man did, they would have not had sin. But now that they come, they have no cloak from their sin. That is written in their law, that they've hated me without a cause. You understand? And he said to deal with them. He said, pray, let your boom, boom, let the proud be ashamed, for they dealt perversely, which means they perverted righteousness, and you know they did it. You know they're going to be put to shame. Why? Because they don't believe on him whom Elohim has sent. All those that believe on him shall not be ashamed. They shall be put to shame. What is that shame? That open shame of being slaughtered upon his return. Psalms 119 and verse 79. Let those that fear you turn unto me, and those that have known your testimonies. Let my heart be sound in your statutes, that I be not ashamed. And what is that last part? Everybody that believe on his name, or what we read in John 20. Blessed are those who have not seen, yet have believed. Because you believe based on his testimonies. You believe because of the word. Now, let's listen to tittle. What is a tittle? Well, what is a tittle? A tittle is a little smaller than a jot. And you know what letter it relates to? The tittle? It relates to the dalet and the rosh. So now when you look at one jot and one tittle, you could think of Yod Rosh or Yod Dalet. The head's right hand or the hanging of the right hand. So let's come over here and let's look at Psalms 119 and what was this Rosh and Dalet at? Matter of fact, we'll say that Rosh and Dalet part for the Shabbat when I got more time, because I told you that I was going to do something, and that's what I'm going to do. Isaiah 65 and 17. Let's get right on to the point. He said that this law will not pass away till heaven and earth pass away. And why is this important when we look at the hanging of the right hand, how that would pass away when heaven and earth pass away? Or the chief's right hand? Because what does the text say Yahushua would do upon his return? He would write upon you his what? His new name. Because they're coming to do something different. That's another conversation, though. You know what I'm saying? And we could deal with that conversation. That's another conversation. But I want you to look at Isaiah 65 and 17. For behold, I create a new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be you glad and rejoice forever, which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people. The voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. Now, we need to look at a few things. First thing first, we just talked about this the other day. So notice that it say the new heaven and new earth won't be remembered. The same way how we read last week in Jeremiah 3 and 16, that the Ark of the Covenant will not be remembered, nor will it come to mind. Why will it not come to mind? Because there will be the city of the great king, New Jerusalem, in the sides of the north. That's why it won't be remembered. So why is that important, that heaven and earth won't be remembered? Why is it important that the Ark of the Covenant won't be remembered? Come to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. I ain't going in direct, sequential order, but we're going to make sure that you understand fully by the time we get off of here tonight on why the law will not be kept in the kingdom of Elohim. Not that they will be living lawlessly, but the law of Moses, it won't need to be mentioned. And y'all know why. Y'all pretty sharp. 1 Corinthians 15, right? You could pick it up at verse 12. 1 Corinthians 15 and 12. Now, if a Mashiach be preached that he rose from the dead, how say some among you that there is no resurrection of the dead? If there's no resurrection of the dead, then is Mashiach not risen? And if Mashiach be not risen, then is our preaching vain, and your faith is also vain. Yea, we are found fault witnesses of Elohim, because we testified of Elohim that he raised up Mashiach, whom he raised not up, if so be that the dead raised not. Remember how we just read, those that fear you going to turn unto me because they believed your testimonies, because you believe the word. because his testimony is in heaven and his record is on high, and the just live by their faith. You understand? And I make a covenant with you, not like the covenant that I made with your fathers in the wilderness. For my law will be in your heart and in your spirit, and you'll walk in it. Verse 16, for if the dead rise not, then is Hamashiach not raised. And if Hamashiach be not raised, your faith is vain, or you are yet in your sins. Then they which also are fallen asleep in Mashiach and perish, if in this life only we have hope in Hamashiach, we are all men most miserable. But now is Hamashiach risen from the dead, and become the first fruits of them that slept. For since by man death, by man also the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam all die, even so in Hamashiach shall all be made alive. But every man in his own order, Hamashiach the first fruits, and afterwards they that are Mashiach's at his coming. Then the end, when he shall deliver up the Malkuth to Elohim. This way to get into this now. This showing you also the difference between the millennial kingdom and the kingdom of Elohim itself. Because in the millennial kingdom, it's just the son. In the kingdom of Elohim, he going to deliver that kingdom up and give it to his father. Say, then the end, when he shall deliver up the kingdom to Elohim, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and authority and power. For he must reign till he have put all enemies under his feet. The last enemy shall be destroyed, death. For he have put all things under his feet. And when he say all things are put under, manifest that he is accepted, which did put all things under him. And when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also himself be subject unto him that put all things under him, that Elohim may be all in all. So at this particular juncture, you're going to see that Yahushua, remember, because he said he'll sit on the throne of his father David, but we know from the ending of Ezekiel 48, we know from the ending of Zechariah 14, that the throne of Elohim, that's why it says the Ark of the Covenant won't be there. Matter of fact, let's look at Revelation 3 real quick, like Revelation chapter 3, verse 20, if you would. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come unto him and will sup with him and he with me. To him that overcome will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I've also overcame and sat down with my Abba in his throne. So what are we looking at? You're looking at someone having the ability to sit down and rule. But at the point when the Father come down from Shamahim, then that rule will be given unto him who gave the rule to begin with, like we read in Luke chapter 1. Now let's look at another point that we got to pull out of Isaiah 65. And that's that he said that the voice of weeping would not be heard in her anymore. So now we have to look at that. Now we need to go to Isaiah chapter 25 for that. Let me ask y'all this here to make sure y'all remember. Gog and Magog. Does the attack of Gog and Magog happen before, during, or after the return of Yahushua HaMashiach? You know what I'm talking about? Let that be known as you coming over here to Isaiah 25 and 8. When does the attack of Gog and Magog occur? Before, during, or after Yahushua return? Is it before his return? Is it during his return? Is it after his return? Little Stanley says after. Big Boot, who sits in the room, says after. But she wanted to share that with y'all. And you could come over here to Isaiah 25 and 8. We get straight to the point. Janisha says after. Sean says after. Now, what would you use to justify, for those of you who are saying after, how would you justify that? And there's a reason why I have to mention that, because I can't really go forward without dealing with that first. So before I can even read Isaiah 25, we're going to have to read Ezekiel 38 now, aren't we? Now, of course, everybody's perspective of Ezekiel 37 is not the same as ours. We know that Ezekiel 37 is referring to the resurrection of the dead, not the waking up of a group of people to their nationality. That's bad dope. I don't know who cut that dope, but they cut it bad. There's definitely some rat poison in that. That's pure trash. That is literally, this man literally talking about taking tendons and sinews and placing them upon bone and breathing life in it, just like we read in John 20 and 22. Just like you read in Romans 8, that the Ruach of that raised Mashiach from the dead gonna raise you from the dead. You know what I'm talking about? And then, indeed, and we talked about that before, that Ezekiel 35 is his battle with the beast. You know what I'm talking about? It's definitely his battle with the beast. Him running his mouth and blaspheming. You know what I'm talking about? But let's look at some of these pinpoint things that we can see that Ezekiel 38 is after. And verse 8 is the one that tells you this plainly that we overlook a lot. After many days, well, hold on, let's do that. Let me give you verse 6. Gomor and all his bands, the house of Torgamah, the north quarters, all his bands, many people with you. Be you prepared and prepare yourself, you and all your company that are assembled unto you, and be a guard unto them. After many days you shall be visited, and the latter years you shall come into the land, brought back from the sword, gathered out of many people against the mountains of Yasharal, which have always been laid waste, but is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall all dwell safely, all of them. Yeah, that's, and Revelation 20 is referencing Ezekiel 38 in its totality. That's why I'm just going to the direct source of where Revelation 20 come from. 20 and we got 7 and 8. Put that in the chat. You shall ascend and come like a storm. You shall be like a cloud to cover the land, all your bands and many people with you. Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, it shall come to pass at the same time these things come into your mind, and you shall think of evil thought, and you shall say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, and all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates. Now, y'all know how that relates back to something in the text. What was Nehemiah known for doing? What'd you say? Building a wall. Why is that important that I even referencing Nehemiah building a wall? When was Nehemiah building the wall? When they came out of Babylon. So they came out of a captivity being gathered out of the nations. But guess what? They didn't have to be able to dwell there safely. They needed bars and gates and walls to protect themselves. Well, when Yahushua come to play the role of Nehemiah, he won't need to build no walls or no gates. You know what I'm talking about? Because the people will be dwelling safely. This is how we know this is after. So you've been dwelling in the man. Remember, we talking about there's a difference between the millennial reign and then the kingdom of Elohim. You know what I'm talking about? There's a difference. The two different things, there's two different sets of things going on. Who can remember out the law that tells you that there'll be a millennial reign? Y'all remember? Who can show me out? Who can tell me out the law where you can remember that there will be a millennial reign, that the law talks of it? Who recalls where in the law that it talks of it? I know somebody remember. Y'all pretty sharp. I might go a little bit over my time. It's okay. I got to make sure I put all this on here. Who remembers where that's at in the law? Y'all done forgot already? It's been a while. I understand. I shouldn't have left it. What do you say? Without a dope beat to step to. That's what the song say, Muffin. You know about the song? You should know about it. It's definitely for your time. What song? What? What is it called? I don't even know what it's called. What is it called? I think it's just Aaliyah. That's where Leah get her name from. You knew that? Yeah, but I can't play the song for you because it's nigga music. You don't need to hear no nigga music. Y'all don't remember where that's at in the law? Y'all gonna make me sweat it out, man. Come on around here to Deuteronomy 24. They're gonna make me sweat it out. Let's go back to what we were talking about last week, too. Deuteronomy 24 and 5, right? He said, when a man taketh a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business. But he shall be free at home 1 year, and he shall cheer up his wife, which he hath taken. Now remember, right? Mashiach go to war when he come back, right? But he don't go to war after he get his wife. You know what I'm talking about? Matter of fact, he don't go to war with Gog and Magog because fire come down from Shamaim to eat them up. He didn't even fight them. He wasn't charged with no business. He didn't have to go nowhere. He didn't have no work to do. All he had to do was sit at the house and cheer up his wife. And that take you back to that Jeremiah 33, which I told y'all for years, and I'm going to read it to you again, because every last one of you need to encapsulate in your mind who Jeremiah heard. That very well could have been you. That could have been your voice he heard. Jeremiah 33 and 11 on general principle. You know, I don't need no reason to share that with you. I like to have that in your mind. You need to have that in your mind. Jeremiah 33 and 11, the voice of joy, the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom, the voice of the bride, the voice of them that shall say hallelujah of hosts. For Yahuwah is good, his mercy endure forever. And of them shall bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of Yahuwah. I will cause to return the captivity of the land as the first, saith Yahuwah. Now you got to understand that that's his job, the wife happy. Ain't nothing gonna be going on. He ain't fighting no battles. Ain't nothing going on. It's just him and his wife. Keep her joyful and happy. That's what the millennial reign is about. Let me cheer up my wife. Then when things come all in all, he delivered that back up to his father. Let me get you this Isaiah 25. You can, after this Isaiah 25, you can grab you Isaiah 4. 25 and 8, because remember we read in Isaiah 65, he said there'll be no more weeping. Also, when you look at Ezekiel 39 with the cleaning up of the bodies, because you're cleaning up those bodies for the preparation of the Father to dwell on the earth. Most of y'all here already know that, because we've talked about this before. We went through Ezekiel 40 through 48. We know that that's dealing with New Jerusalem. You know what I'm talking about? So that's a different deal. That's dealing with New Jerusalem. That's why it ends with Yahuwah is there. That's why you see the gates of the city and how that line up with Revelation 21, and you see that's New Jerusalem. That's not the millennial reign. That's New Jerusalem. That's a different conversation. Once you get past Revelation 20, you got to split that up, because this is a different conversation. You know what I'm talking about? And I know it's not a conversation that a lot of brews have, that the millennial reign and the kingdom of Elohim are two different things. You know what I'm saying? They are similar, but they have slight nuanced differences. You know what I'm talking about? Nevertheless, Isaiah 25 and 8. He will swallow up death and victory, and Yahuwah Elohim shall wipe away tears from all faces, and the rebuke of his people shall he take away from all the earth, for Yahuwah hath spoken. And it shall be said in that day, lo, this is our Elohim. We have waited for him. He will save us. This Yahuwah, we have waited for him. We will be glad and rejoice in his salvation. And I told y'all this before, and I'm going to tell you this again. If an nigga ever tell you that it's something wrong with you waiting on Yahuwah, just know that God ain't in him and depart away from him. Ain't no righteous man in the history of the world has ever ridiculed, mocked, or tried to seduce or persuade any man or woman who trusted in Yahuwah from not to wait on Yahuwah. That is not a man or woman of Elohim who would mock you by telling you you wrong for waiting in Yahuwah. Don't let nobody make you waver in your faith. Y'all know how long Abraham waited till he got Isaac. Imagine if Abraham would have listened to these sucker niggas out here now talking about ain't nobody coming to save you. Ain't nobody gonna give you no baby. If he was gonna give you a baby, he would have been got it. But remember what Paul told us of Abraham, that he know that Elohim spoke those things which isn't as if they are. So they are going to come to pass in the time that he desired to come to pass. The same way when Paul was on that boat, he said, as Elohim sold it to me, that's how I know it's gonna be. That's how you have to sit back and look at the word. As the man said it, that's how it's gonna be. Bump what another nigga talking about. What's Yahuwah talking about? You know what I'm saying? See, we like to get in all these arguments and debates about X, Y, Z. Man, what that word talking about? Man, what did he say? You know what I'm talking about? If he said that, what it's going to be? I done told y'all this before, man, numerous times. If that man say he going to moonwalk on the moon, then that's what he going to do. Because if it wasn't, then why would he have told me that then? You understand? Like this here, man, there's a reason why Yahushua said, man, my father's house got many mansions. Man, if it wasn't so, I would have told you that. Do you know what I'm talking about? Man, you better know who you dealing with. I don't care nothing about what man say, boy, who gonna do what he gonna say he gonna do. I don't care what you niggas talking about. You know what I'm talking about? Isaiah chapter 4. I hear dude, man, God ain't gonna do for you like he did for such and such. You's a lie from hell. That man ain't never said he gonna forsake no. Don't you tell nobody if they be righteous, they gonna be out here begging for bread. The hell wrong with you? You listen to a damn fool talking to you like that, and I mean damn fool in the literal sense. He got to be on his way to hell. You know what I'm talking about? They tell you that Yahuwah gonna forsake the righteous. You's a fool if you believe that. You know what I'm talking about? When you ever seen Yahuwah do that? You ain't got to have a memorial in the text for this man to show mercy on you. What type of God you think you serve? You know what I'm talking about? Man, that man come through in the clutch for everybody who fear him, man. That man told you he sold himself strong on behalf of those whose heart is perfect towards him. Don't let these people tell these no lie to you, man. Man, Yahuwah come through every time. We already talked about it last week, man. He ain't promised you nothing but daily bread. You know what I'm talking about? That's all he promised you. That's what he told you to pray for. Give us this day our daily bread. That's what he told you. And he said, hey, man, forgive me my sins, forgive my debts, like I forgive those who owe me. Man, the man kept it simple, man. Who he ever forsook? Man, even as wicked as Saul was, boy, he ain't forsake him till he cut him off. Man, the only way Yahuwah gonna forsake you is if you forsook him. So if somebody telling you Yahuwah ain't gonna do this for you, just know that they done forsook Yahuwah. They know Yahuwah done forsook him, and they trying to get you in the same boat. Don't you fall for it. Isaiah chapter 4, man, you can pick it up at verse 2. Yeah, don't fall for it now. After that, Zephaniah chapter 3. About 3 and 10. Now, you can do what you want, because I can't make you believe the word. But, boy, I can definitely tell you that Yahuwah is faithful. I can tell you that from personal experience. I can't speak for nobody else. I can speak for me, though. You know what I'm talking about? What type? See, you know, we didn't talk about it before, man. Y'all so used to getting let down by people who you were supposed to trust. You think Yahuwah gonna let you down? Don't you dare disrespect that man by comparing him to dust and ashes. You know what I'm saying? Don't you never disrespect that man. You know what I'm talking about? Yahuwah ain't dust and ashes. Elohim is not a man that he should lie, nor the son of a man that he should repent. If he said it, shall he not do it? Well, you can take that to the bank and cash that check. It won't bounce. Guaranteed. Pray the Lord big time. I see you in that, man. Isaiah 4 and 2. In that day shall the branch of Yahuwah be beautiful and esteemed, and the fruit of the earth, excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Yasharal. It shall come to pass, he that is left in Zion, he that remain in Jerusalem, shall be called Kadash, everyone that is written among the living in Jerusalem. Well, we know if you're written among the living, that means you're written in heaven, because we talked about that in Genesis 3. But you also written in the book of life. And what did Yahuwah tell Moses? The only thing that can get your name blotted out the book of the living, that's sin. Who he said the only people were going to get in his kingdom? Those whose name were written in the book. Ain't that what Daniel said? Ain't that what Revelation bear witness to? So if your name ain't written in the book, it's because you sinned. And what do we know that Psalm say? He gonna root all the sinners out of the earth. What did he tell them people in the parable of the sword? That at the last day, the Malachim gonna come through and they gonna gather out of his kingdom everything that commit iniquity. They shall be cast in a furnace. There shall be wailing, weeping, and gnashing of teeth. Ain't nothing gonna be dwelling in the kingdom of Elohim that commit perversity. That's why Satan get thrown in the pit. And so, of course, and again, see, that's also the difference between the millennial reign and the kingdom of Elohim. Because how else could Gog and Magog run up and do what they did? Because they had sin in their heart. See, I think that's what some people get it confused at with the sacrifices is concerned versus the millennial reign and the kingdom of Elohim, which again is two different things. They are not the same. Because you ain't sacrificing no bulls and goats when the Father is in the land. I can tell you that right now. You're not doing that. That's not happening. You know what I'm talking about? And according to the text, you should know why it's not happening. Because we're just looking at heaven and earth passing away. Let's go back to Zephaniah chapter 3. From Zephaniah 3 and 10, we go straight to Revelation 21. We run the rest of the stuff on down. Matter of fact, after I read Zephaniah 3, I go to Habakkuk chapter 1 before we go on this back end. That's what I'll do. Let Yahuwah be esteemed. 3 and 10, right? 3 and 11, actually. Zephaniah 3 and 11. And that day shall you not be ashamed for all your doings where you have transgressed against me. For then I will take away out of the midst of you them that rejoice in your pride, and you shall be no more haughty because of my Kadash mountain. I will also leave in the midst of you an afflicted and poor people. They shall trust in the name of Yahuwah. First things first, you're going to look at, and you're going to see that you're going to have people who trust the name of Elohim. The remnant of Yasharal shall not do iniquity, nor speak lies, neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. They shall feed and lie down, and none shall make afraid. That's why you see that. What you seen in Ezekiel 38. They laid down, ain't nobody made them afraid, did it? The man is the keeper of his word. But what do you get the next point? You see that ain't nobody going to be there sinning. Let's look at Habakkuk chapter 1. Let's look at what he said about Elohim himself. I thought I heard somebody. 1 and 12, if you would. Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 12. You not from everlasting, O Yahuwah, my Elohim, my Kadash one. We shall not die, O Yahuwah. You have ordained them for judgment, O my mighty Elohim. You've established them for correction. Of purer eyes than to behold evil, and cannot look on iniquity. Wherefore look you upon them that deal treacherously. Hold your tongue when the wicked devour, more righteous than he. Notice that it says that his eyes are too pure to look upon iniquity, to behold evil. He can't look on iniquity. He can't do that. Revelation chapter 21 and 1. So when we tell you that, when you sit back and look at it, for those of you who have understanding, matter of fact, before I read Revelation 21 and 1, let me get you Romans 7 to set up the next point, because some of y'all don't know this because you ain't never heard it. And some of you do know it. So we'll do that right now. Make sure I ain't overlooking nothing. 7 and 7. What shall we say then? The law sin? Elohim forbid. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law. That's how Adam and Eve knew what sin was. That's how we know that the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the garden was the law. Because it's the knowledge of good and evil, which the law is. It is simply the knowledge of good and evil. You do not know what sin is without the law. So where there is no law, there is no sin. That's why there wasn't any sin in the garden until they ate of the tree that he instructed them not to. He said, but by the law, for I had not known lust, except the law had said, you shall not covet. But sin taken occasion by the commandment wrought in me all manner of conspicuance. For without the law, sin was dead. See, see how he said it? Well, there's no law, sin is not alive. He said, for I was alive without the law once. But when the commandment came, sin revived and I died. So when the law comes, that brings sin back to life because you know what it is and what it ain't. And the commandment which to life I found unto death. Sin, taking occasion by the commandment, deceived me, and by it slew. Wherefore the law is Kadash, and the commandment Kadash, just and good. What was then that which is good made death unto me? Elohim forbid. But sin, that it might appear sin, working death in me by that which is good, that sin by the commandment might become more exceeding sinful. I know that sounds like a lot, but all they're telling you is, man, look here, man, now that I know what the law say, then sin gets magnified because I know what it is, and my flesh desires to go contrary to the word. Simple as that. But where there's no law at, there is no sin. Let me come over here to Romans 5 and 12, make it plain for you where he say that. Wherefore, as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for all have sinned. For until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed where there is no law. And when they were in the garden, he said, all these trees you can eat freely. The tree of knowledge and good and evil don't eat. There wasn't any sin there because there was no law. You know what I'm talking about? You can't, because what he said, he that sinned against me shall what? Die. And they did not die until they took part of what they were not supposed to take part of and learn the difference between good and evil. And why is that important when we get to the back end of heaven and earth, that the law will not pass away till heaven and earth pass away? Well, let's look and see. Revelation 21 and 1. And I saw a new Shamahim and a new Arats, for the first Shamahim and the first Arats passed away, and there was no more sea. Why is that important? Because when the first heaven and first earth passed away, do you not understand that the first heaven and first earth were contained with nothing but sin? See, Peter made reference to that, and y'all willing on the Shabbat, we'll look at it in 2 Peter chapter 3. You know what I'm talking about? Guess what passes away? Sin, death, everything goes away. Let's continue. Yachanan saw the Kadash city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Elohim out of Shamahim, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. I heard a great voice out of Shamahim saying, behold, the tabernacle of Elohim with men. He will dwell with them. They shall be his people, and Elohim shall be with them. Their Elohim. Elohim shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. Do you see how we just read that? We read that in Isaiah 65. You're seeing it in Isaiah 25. Look at the next thing he said. There shall be no more death. This is how we also can know the difference between the millennial reign and the kingdom of Elohim, because Gog and Magog gets what? Killed. What does Zechariah 14 tell you what happened to all the nations that wouldn't come up for Feast of Tabernacles? What did it say would happen? They would get a drought. Did it not? That means they would die. So there's a difference, because what also do we know does not happen in the during the millennial reign? The second resurrection. And what else has not been created for everybody whose name is not written in the book? That's for them to be cast in the lake where the worm dies not and the fire shall not be quenched. Because who's the only two people in it? The beast and the false prophet. The second death has not came on the scene. That's why you can read that in Isaiah 65 and he say the old man will live to 100 years old, but the sinner being accursed will die. But we'll talk about that a little bit more on the Shabbat. I know that's right. Amen. I know that's right. Me and you both. I didn't want you to understand that there's a difference. It's subtle differences because it's not the same. The millennial reign and the kingdom of Elohim are not the same. You know what I'm talking about? They're not the same. They're two different things. They seem to be the same. They look the same. But of course, the biggest difference is the Father isn't there. Now look at the next thing it says. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. Neither shall there be any more pain. The former things are passed away. So when heaven and earth pass away, sin and death pass away with it, which means there would be no need for a law because there would be no sinners there. And we're going to read that in the letter from Paul in a moment. There'll be no sinners there. And of course, the law with Adam and Eve backs this up. Whether you agree with it or not, that's not my problem. You know what I'm talking about? You sort that out with Yahuwah. But the understanding is clear. You know what I'm talking about? That's what he told you. He said, my words are plain to them who have understanding. You know what I'm talking about? I can't do nothing about that. Because for me, this is not a debate. Or let me prove to you this is right. This man understanding is his understanding. It say what it say. When you seek this man understanding, then you'll get the insight to what the plan is. And then you can see how very plain and simple it is. Let's continue. And he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, right, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, it is done. I'm the Aleph and the Tav, beginning and the end. And I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of water of life freely. He that overcomes shall inherit all things. I will be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. The fearful, unbelieving, the abominable, murderers, whoremongers, sorcerers, idolaters, all liars shall have their part in the lake which burn with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Now, of course, you can come down here in this Revelation 21 and you can see the gates of the city and people tell you, that's the same gates in Ezekiel 48. Well, if that's the case, them gates in Ezekiel 48 is telling you about New Jerusalem and heaven and earth has passed away. When you go read Ezekiel 47, you see the tree of life in the midst of the garden. That's what you're finna read over here in Revelation 22, which is the same tree of life you've seen in the midst of the garden in the beginning, which they chose not to eat. If they would have ate it, they would have lived forever. But they wanted the law. They didn't want faith. That's what you see right now to this day. People want the law. They don't want faith. They want that which bring forth death and not which bring forth life. What we gonna do about that? See, and again, an individual here that he's saying not to keep the law. Now, one time did you hear me say that? That's what you heard in your heart because you don't want to keep it and you ain't keeping it. That's what you heard. Because you ain't heard me nan time say that you shouldn't do this man instructions. You don't want to do them and you ain't doing them. So that's what you hear. That's a personal problem. You know what I'm saying? We don't deal with personal problems and let me not say problems with people who want to heal and be better. We don't deal with personal problems with people who just want to be upset for the sake of being upset. You know what I'm saying? I don't care nothing about that. Revelation 22:1. And he showed me a pure river, water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. In the midst of the street of it, on the either side of the river, the tree of life, which bare 12 fruits, yielded her fruit every month. The leaves of the tree for the healing of the nation. That's where you got these old stupid niggas talking about that's reefer, talking about the herbs of the field is for healing of the nation. Don't you be listening to these stupid bastards. This ain't talking about nothing you can go pluck out right now. You know what I'm talking about? We done went through this before. Y'all know what it say in Jeremiah 17. You know what it say in Psalms 1. And both times he equated it to faith of somebody being like the tree of life. See, these people will trick you out your salvation, man, trying to be cool and trying to be down with a bunch of ignorant bastards who don't know Yahuwah. You know what I'm talking about? That's why he say, Kadash Abba, the world have not known you. These people don't know this man. They ain't never heard of this man. That's why what we talking about right now sounds wild and far out. And how could you, this is you stretching it and you ain't doing nothing. Because at the end of the day, you ain't got to believe nothing I say, but you got to believe the word of Yahuwah. I can tell you that. And at the end of the day, can't nobody prove nothing wrong with what we talking about. You could come up with a bunch of talking points and a lot of word salad that you can throw in to try to befuddle and betwixt people who don't know no better. But nigga, you can't run that junk on me. You know what I'm talking about? You can't run that on me at all. And I'll give y'all this information so they can't run it on you. Because you need to cleave on to the word. You need to make sure your hope is in Elohim and what he promised you. You know what I'm talking about? You shouldn't have no hope in no man. Because a man ain't made no promise to you. You know what I'm talking about? That's why we do what we do. That's why we here 3 times a week. So your hope can rest in the word of Elohim, not in no man. You know what I'm talking about? No man can't save you. This ain't my doctrine. You need Yahuwah's doctrine. That's the only doctrine you need. You know what I'm talking about? Because that's the only doctrine going to keep you alive. Man's doctrine can't keep you alive. That's why he told you to beware of doctrines and commandments of men. They're going to kill you. You know what I'm talking about? Don't be no fool out here, man. Don't nobody trick you out your blessing, man. I ain't talking about no blessings with people talking about cars and clothes and money. I'm talking about everlasting life, man. I'm talking about remittance of sins. I'm talking about receiving the gift of the Ruach. I'm talking about your name being written in heaven. See, right now, if it's nighttime where you at, we talked about this a few times lately. I just want you to know what I'm talking about. Look out the window. See if you see some stars in the sky. You understand? Because for every star you see in the sky is the genealogy of heaven, like it said in Genesis, right? That means that's the genealogy or the family tree of every person whose name written in heaven. I hope to God that's you see out there, because for every star, that's a name written in the book of life. I pray that's your name. That's right. Go ahead, baby. Go ahead. Go ahead. Let go ride out. We're finna get off here in a second. Go ahead.
I feel that. So I never knew that with the stars.
Oh yeah, yes.
That's something new that I'm just now hearing.
Praise you, Lord. Oh yeah. Right here. Hold on. Like I said, because see this right here, right? Kokav is the Hebrew word for stars. It literally means, by definition, progeny or the sons of Elohim. That's literally what it means. When you come over here with us at Genesis chapter 2, where's the doggone page? That's page. There it is right here. Boom, boom, boom. See, let's just miss it. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts. And on the 7th day, Elohim ended his work which he made. He rested on the 7th day from all the work that he made, and he blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because when he rested from all his work which Elohim created and made, these the generations of heaven and earth when they were created, and the day that Elohim made the earth and the heaven. And of course, generation literally means genealogy. For every star you see in the sky, that's representative of somebody whose name written in heaven. You know what I'm saying? And I hope to Yahuwah that it's everybody who on this live stream, everybody that's in this clubhouse room, everybody that's sitting in this room, you know what I'm talking about? Anybody who may listen to this or watch this later, that if it be Yahuwah's mercy and grace, that be your name that you see in that sky. You know what I'm talking about? See, I mentioned things to you so when you can see the beauty of his works and everything, that you might not always, that you are always know Yahuwah is with you, and that you might maintain hope and hold fast to his promise. That, you know, when you go outside at night and look and see a star in the sky, you be like, I hope to God that's my name. You know what I'm talking about? I done told you before, every time you see the sun come up, that's an example of him resurrecting from the dead, that you got another day to stand firm and resist your flesh, that you might live. See, these are things that you can see, that you be reminded of your promise. You know what I'm talking about? I was telling Will this the other day, and matter of fact, I told Lisa the same, because this something that I don't do as often. And I told some brothers this on the call that I was on Sunday, man. Like, so when people be going through saying, they say, you know, send me a verse. I ain't sending you no verse. You know what I'm talking about? And I ain't sending you no verse because I don't want to send you a verse. Because if I send you that verse and you read it, do you really understand it? Will it really help you in what you're dealing with? I would rather just have a conversation with you. And if the word is in you, then the word gonna flow out in the midst to give you strength in the midst of that conversation. You know what I'm talking about? That's what I would rather do. That's what I implored the brother to do Sunday. That's why I mentioned that to Will the other day and told Lisa the same. And told Big Boot the same thing. It's better just to have a conversation because we get used to that. You know, send me a verse. I'm going through this. I ain't sending you no verse, but you could call me though. You know what I'm talking about? You could do that. I ain't gonna send you no verse. And or I'm gonna tell you to do this here, what the book tell you to do. Think on that which is good. Think on that which is just. Let Yahuwah be your fear. Yet Yahuwah be your dread. Meditate on him. You know what I'm talking about? Think of that which is pure, that which is honest, that which is of good rapport. Let your mind be stayed on Yahuwah, for whose mind is stayed on him. He trusts in him, for trusting Yahuwah is everlasting strength. See, that's going to be better than me sending you a verse. You know what I'm talking about? Because then you can be enveloped by his presence. You know what I'm talking about? And that's what you need is presence. We don't need to be throwing each other no random verses. You know what I'm talking about? You need his presence. Because I tell you this here, Yahuwah is my witness before whom I stand. But if you think on this man's name and this man's word is in your heart, he'll give you a verse right out your own heart. His word will talk to you. I promise you it will. I promise you it will. You know what I'm talking about? If his word is in your heart and you thinking upon him, whatever it is that you need to comfort your soul, his word will come to mind in your heart. I ain't got to send you nothing. You know what I'm talking about? I promise you that. And don't let nobody tell you no different, man. That man word in your heart and you think upon him, I guarantee you. And if he don't do that, he'll send somebody to give you a word in due season, like it say in Isaiah 50. I promise you that. It's better for us to have conversation. See, the internet stuff, and this ain't for this stuff make us lazy. You know what I'm saying? Man, that's not your fault, because that's what people tell you to do. You're going through something, send me a Bible verse. You know what I'm saying? But most people don't have understanding to be able to read something for that to help them. You know what I'm saying? So it's better just to have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? I've been telling y'all that for the longest. It's better just to call somebody. You know what I'm saying? Who's knowledgeable of the word, who know Yahuwah, and talk to them about it. A word to touch you. If the word wouldn't touch you in that situation, that means Yahuwah a liar. We know Yahuwah a lot of things, and a lie ain't one of them. Let me finish this right here, though. Verse 3, right? And there shall be no more curse. What is the curse? The curse is death, like we read in Isaiah 25 and Revelation 21 also. And the throne of the Lamb of Elohim and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him, and they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their forehead. Well, you know what happened with the text told you. Nobody can't see Yahuwah's face and what? Live. That's what it said, right? So that means why you can't live? Because you are the flesh. But if you get born again and you enter into his kingdom, guess what you are? Ruach, because all the Malachim can look at me in his face, can they not? And guess what you know ain't in heaven? Ain't no sin in heaven. Uh-oh. Let's look at this 1 Timothy, man. I'm over my time by 10 minutes. It ain't gonna hurt nobody. It ain't nothing but the word. Some people go out hear this and be like, I agree. Some people won't. But for those who love Yahuwah, let Yahuwah be esteemed. Let his word be magnified in your heart and hold fast to a promise, and let no man take your crown. 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 9. Or is it 2 Timothy? I think it's 2 Timothy. Nope. It's 1 Timothy. That's my error. 1 Timothy chapter 1, right? I pick you up at verse 3. Hey, shoot. Praise Yahuwah big time. Paul, an apostle of Yahoo, as I besought you to abide still at Ephesians when I went into Macedonia, that you might charge some that they teach no other doctrine, neither give heed to fables, amen, Brother Reynolds, and endless genealogies, which minister questions rather than faithfully edifying, which is in faith. Now, the end of their commandment is charity out of a pure heart, of a good conscience, and faith unfeigned. Notice that's what he say the word is supposed to produce. Love from a pure place, a good conscience towards God, and not faked faith. That's what the word is supposed to produce. Pure love, a good mind, and pure faith. That's what it's supposed to produce. If you ain't getting that, that means you ain't doing it right. He say, for which some have swerved aside under vain jangling, desire to be teachers of the law, understanding neither what they say, nor whereof they affirm. But we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man. Remember what we read in Ecclesiastes 7:29? He said he made man what? Upright. So that means the law wasn't made for Adam. Adam was righteous. What would he gave him a law for? So why would anybody need the law in the kingdom of Elohim? Everybody righteous. Ain't no sinners here. That's why I say in the kingdom, again, in the millennial reign, yeah, you're going to have a law. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? You're going to have that in the millennial reign, but in the kingdom of Elohim, no. And it's not because that nobody would be walking in it, because everybody would be righteous. There would be no Elohim himself gonna be there. What he need a law to remind him to be righteous for? Have we even thought about that? That the Father is gonna be there? So you mean to tell me he need law to make sure that he obey? Absolutely not. Let me read it to you again, verse 9. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless, disobedient, for unfaithful, for sinners, for unkadash, for profane, for murderers of fathers, murderers of mothers, or for manslayers. What we just read in Revelation 21, ain't no murderers getting in there, is it? It say that in 22 and 14, right? No murderers, no dogs, no sorcerers, no idolaters, no anybody who love and maketh a lie. Oh, I ain't even see your hand up there, young lady. Go on ahead. He say for whoremongers and for them who defile it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, my name is Jessica.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm kind of like, I love Jesus and everything, but I just had a question.
Go ahead.
So basically, my younger brother is extremely gay. Like, he loves men.
That's unfortunate.
I was just in a clubhouse chat, and I was asking them questions, and they told me I'm supposed to hate gays.
Well, it's like this here, right? It's an abominable conduct and behavior. If you're going to serve Elohim, it would be impossible for you to be able to be one with him, because see, Proverbs 29 and 27 say the unjust is an abomination to the just, and the just are an abomination to the unjust. Now, it's not necessary that you walk around and be like, you faggot, I can't stand you. But you would be like, I can't co-sign what you're doing. I can't stamp and go along with what you're doing. I'm not going to enable you in your conduct and your behavior. You know what I'm talking about? And if I have to separate myself from you, then that's just what I'm going to have to do. But we just not going to say that with the homosexual. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but it's like my brother, and I love my brother a lot.
I understand. But then you would have to look at it like this here.
Hey, 2-4.
That's her brother. That's her business. That's on her.
Yeah, he's a fucking faggot. Like, seriously.
Okay, that's his business. All right, we get it. I mean, but it seems like, shoot, nobody needed to tell you to hate him. Seems like you hate him enough all on your own.
Because he's sinning against the Lord Jesus.
I understand, and I can understand why you would be upset about that. But at the end of the day, you can't do nothing about him sinning. You can't stop him from sinning. He has to stop wanting to sin on his own.
What am I supposed to do when he's running around the house? I love cock.
Well, I would say in that instance, baby, you might just need to move.
But I'm only like 18 years old, and I can't afford it yet.
I understand. But then, hey, you just gotta let him build up the iniquity in heaven that he's building up against his own soul.
But I also have autism. So when you have autism, it's kind of hard to move out of the house because I have autism.
I understand. I would say more than anything, you just got to keep serving Yahuwah. You can't really be. There's nothing really much you can do. Go ahead, brother Ralph.
One second, Jessica, baby, I got a room that you can move in for a little bit, baby.
No, don't do that. That don't sound right. Now y'all sound like y'all on some other type of time.
Yeah, baby, just DM me. I'm gonna hook you up with a room, baby. You wanna come to San Francisco?
What's going on, brother Jackson?
I've been trying to move out of my house.
All right now. Hey, y'all got to have that conversation somewhere else, cause I ain't participating in none of that. Hey, hold on now. Let me finish. Hey, hold on. Let me finish what I'm doing. Y'all, you good, cause I don't know what he got going on. He talking about don't go in that room now, baby. Don't do that. Don't do it, baby. Don't do it. No, it ain't a free room. Cause that free room gonna come with some free song. And that ain't what you need in your life. Cause you gonna listen to me. You're gonna have to make small vagina payments, baby. You're gonna have to make small vagina payments. Don't go over there and make no small vagina payments. You know what I'm talking about?
What does that mean?
That means if you go in that man's room, that man gonna want to fornicate with you, and you don't have the mental capacity to be doing that. So don't listen to that.
For the kid is eating?
You know what I'm saying? Let me finish doing what I'm doing, y'all. Let me finish doing what I'm doing. He can't take care of you because he ain't gonna make you know what. You got to ask yourself why he want a young girl with some autism anyway. You're a grown man talking about come stay in my house. What's wrong with you, man? We don't rock with that over here, boy. We don't exploit people and take advantage of nobody. Now we don't play those type of games over here, boy. Like, boy, we really this ain't no clubhouse room for no clubhouse room, boy. We stand with you who over here, man. I'm not stamping the cosign and that and just gonna let that slide. And I ain't doing that because we on camera. I'd have said that if we were standing here face to face. Man, I'm not finna tell that girl go move in your sublet. You talking about you gonna take care of her. Take care of her how? You gonna make her your wife? You gonna take responsibility for her life? You gonna provide for her? You gonna protect her? You gonna teach her? You gonna guide her? Or you just trying to get you some buns because you tired of beating your meat, so you want to take advantage of a young girl who got some autism because you know that's easy vagina? You tell me.
What you mean?
I said exactly what I said.
She look beautiful, Dwayne. I don't know.
And that's fine. But if you ain't gonna make her your wife, don't be talking all that to man. I understand all that, bro. I hear all that, but I don't play them type of games. But let me finish what I'm doing. You're interrupting what I got going on. Okay, hold on, brother. I got you right now. Here you go, brother Jackson. I got you right now. I misunderstood what you were trying to say, brother. There you go. I sent you the invite, man. Hey, but hold on, man. This ain't Love Connection now. Dope getting sold over here, baby. Hard, uncut word of Elohim. I understand. Okay, hold on. Somebody trying to speak. Go ahead, brother Jackson.
Hey, what up, Reginald? You can call me Reggie.
Yes, sir. You say you had something to add? Go ahead, brother.
Yo, Dwayne.
Yes, sir.
You trying to fuck my asshole?
Nigga, what? What's wrong with y'all, man? Y'all niggas is weird, though. Like, why would you invite a man to your rectum, yo? Why would you think that would be like that's the best joke you could come up with? It's, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna come over here and ask a man to sodomize me. Woo, that really throw me off my square. You niggas weird, yo. But nevertheless, though, man, I bless y'all at the house of Elohim in the name of Yahushua. Yahuwah willing. We'll pick this up on the Shabbat. For those of you sisters like this here, man, let me see. I don't even know, Sister T Money, how I can add you to the room, because I might have to close this jump. You know what I'm saying? For weirdos like this here, man. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, they trolling, but I always got to make sure. I got to make sure that people who I see be sliding around here, that they can get what they're looking for. You know what I'm saying? But hey, I appreciate y'all, man. Love y'all. Yahuwah willing, man. We gonna make this do what it do on the Shabbat, because they got something else going on over here. Yahuwah willing, man. Bless y'all the house of Elohim in the name of Yahushua. Yahuwah willing, to the next one. Huh? What's wrong? What you crying for, baby? What's going on?